everyone. Welcome to this week's room.
Yeah, it's something different every week, isn't it?
Something different every week. We're working on it, though. We're working on our studio. Welcome to the show, Tennessee Wildcast, TWRA's weekly podcast show. Jason Harmon, Todd's right over here helping us out. And this is Matt Majors right here, boating investigator, accident investigator for TWRA. We'll get with Matt in just a minute. Going to tell you a lot about boating, a lot of safety stuff, a lot of the things to do when you're not safe, what we have to do to find you, what we never want to have to do. Mm-hmm. And we're going to get all that. And one of the reasons for that is because
July 4th is right around the corner.
Yeah, we're fixing to hit that peak time in Tennessee. There's going to be a lot of boating going on for weeks and weeks to come until schools get back in session, and then we never quit boating in Tennessee. It's a year-round thing in this state. We got our temperatures are warm enough that people stay out and keep fishing, and they go duck hunting, and even the duck hunters sometimes have issues because they don't exactly do what they're supposed to do. So we're going to talk about what you need to do, should do. If you're a paddle, if you like the paddle sports, whether it be a canoe, a kayak, the paddle boards are so popular. We're going to talk about those and rules and regulations, and also the big motor boats. What you got going on?
Not a whole lot. We're trying to get in our new office, and
we are trying to do that.
You know, it's that time of year to be out on the water and trying to do a little fishing too.
A little fishing. We're going to try to do fishing. It's been so hot. We haven't done a whole lot. I know some of you are, and the fish are biting. They don't care about the heat. They're down there where they get down there in the cool water. We just got to be a little tougher when we go out. So yeah. I'm going to throw up the Bimini top. You can go if you want to.
Yeah, we're going to start trolling here maybe soon.
I hope so. Anyway, all right. Let's talk about boating. Matt, thank you for coming in here today.
Thank you, Doug.
And I always hope that you're not very busy, but you're always busy.
Unfortunately, this time of year, there's always a call for our services.
You know, I want to talk about the happy stuff that relates to boating, and we're going to, because boating is wonderful, whether you're a fisherman or a skier or just a swimmer, whatever. We have a state that's just, we're lucky. We're blessed with water in Tennessee. Tens of thousands of acres of lakes, impounded lakes, and tens of thousands of miles of streams. So we're lucky here, and we do pretty good with our accidents, I think, overall, Matt. But we always do seem to have some every year. Seems like it, for some reason, stays in that 18 to 22 to 23 accidents every year. Is that about right?
Yeah, that is. You know, that's where we average. But, you know, we want to always try to bring that down if we can. And our officers are working awfully hard to do that every year, as well as our educators. It just doesn't always happen. Sometimes we still seem to creep back up to that magic number, whatever it is, but generally around 20 fatalities a year is what we have.
Well, right off the bat, how many of those folks that end up, you guys have to go find in the water, or one of the rescue squads or teams around the state, how many of them, if they've been wearing a life jacket, would survive year to year, do you think?
The greatest percentage of them. Very few of our people who die in boating accidents die because of trauma. They die because of the drowning part. And so it's an inherently dangerous environment if you let it be. We always encourage people, it doesn't matter how old you are, wear your life jackets. It's not always required by law, but it's a great idea, because just like you mentioned, most of those people, they'd still be here. They may even want to participate in this wildcast to help us spread the word. You know, it's one thing if an officer says it, but it's even more important when somebody has survived a boating accident and they say, I need to wear a life jacket.
You did a video recently. I really liked it. One of the things you said in the video is one that Barry Cross put together that you can find out on this site if you look for it, where we had an accident over on Priest, and we're talking about if you don't wear the jacket for yourself, I might be putting a little bit of word in your mouth, wear it for your family. Go home for your family, because they're the ones that stand up on the bank waiting on you. I hate that part of all the recovery efforts. It's painful to watch.
It is. That's the hardest part on our officers, because oftentimes we, along with our officers, the rescue squads, we can't do anything but wait sometimes. We have some technology that helps us, but we have to stand there with those families and try to console them, and we want to prevent that if we can. It's just as hard on us dealing with them, but it's tremendously hard on them to have to wonder where their loved ones
It is. Let's talk happy stuff before we get it. We're going to show you some of the equipment that Matt uses when there are accidents, and you have to go out and find a body, recover a body. But what the happy part, the other 99% plus people that survive boating every year, 99.9, whatever it is, what are they doing these days, Matt? When you're out there the most, are you seeing more fishermen, more canoers, kayakers? What are most people doing on the water?
Well, you've already alluded to it. To say that Tennessee is a boating destination would be an understatement. People come from all over because of the numerous opportunities we have. They're boating year-round in Tennessee. It doesn't matter. They're fishing in the winter. They're hunting from boats. They're deer hunting from boats to get to remote locations. But they're also in using these new recreational watercraft that we see out there. A lot of new kayaks on the market, paddle boards and things like that. So anyway, people can fend off the hot summer, they're going to be out on our lakes and waterways.
Okay, and now another popular with a lot of really youngsters is it the wave? What do you call it? The boats that have the almost wave boards behind them, I guess.
Yeah, there's a trend called hoverboards, and they're actually
yep.
attached to the PWCs, and people will ride those. They raise up out of the water. We're not seeing too many of those yet, but because they're a little more expensive. But we are seeing more and more new technologies and things like that we have to be reactive to from a safety standard on our part. We want our people to have fun, but we've got to make sure they're safe.
Yeah, we get pulled into a lot of projects that aren't necessarily the agencies. Of course, the agency is charged with the boating in Tennessee. We get help from other police departments sometimes, or sheriff's departments, or various and the auxiliaries and all that. But TWRA is responsible for boating in Tennessee. But we get pulled into a lot of stuff. I know here in Nashville a week or so ago on the Cumberland River, there was a big race, fast boats, 100-mile-an-hour boats. That's the kind of stuff. Do we have to go out and take care of that when that's happening?
We do. Some of these larger organizations that put these together, they will apply for marine event permits through us. And what that does is it lets us know that there is going to be an impact to recreation or navigational traffic. Our officers will actually have to go out and work those events to keep the recreational public safe during those events, keep them back and keep them away.
Okay, so keeps you occupied all during that time, but the remainder of the time what we have out there is watching the rest of the public, right? We are out there to watch all through the week, but especially on the weekends, everything going out on the water. And what's the job? What is our job specifically?
Our officers are out there 24 hours a day. Sometimes you may not always see them, but they are working around the clock to make sure that people are safe in boats. And what they're doing is just routine patrol. They're looking for things that are unsafe. They're looking for people who are operating under the influence of alcohol and drugs, operating recklessly, people who are required to, such as people on jet skis or children 12 and under not wearing their life jackets, ensuring that all of those things are met, because we know when there's a safe boating environment, there's less of an opportunity for boating accidents.
For sure. And I think folks like seeing us out there. I think they like knowing that we're out there. Not everybody's going to be happy with people that have to write tickets sometimes, but overall, I think they like knowing that we're out there to help keep stuff at least sort of organized.
I only wish the public knew how many verbal warnings and how many people we talk to and don't issue citations. If they actually got to see that part of it, I think that they would applaud the citations that we actually do write sometimes.
I agree with that. They don't have a clue on some of that kind of stuff, but every now and then things are so bad you have to write those tickets to make folks comply.
Yeah, there's some things that we're required to write citations for, but for the most part, it's officer discretion. So they have the ability to write citations, or they can give verbal warnings. It's just going to depend on the severity and whether or not the officer thinks that offense is going to continue.
Yeah, and we want to keep them away from it. You having to go out as an accident investigator and find out what's going on. I guess alcohol is one thing that they not much leeway there for the alcohol. And then the one that I hope more people are learning about, and maybe you can tell us, is a life jacket's mandatory on someone under 13?
Yes, 12 and under must wear a life jacket anytime they're on the open deck or open compartment of a boat. If they were on the inside of a cabin motorboat, that would be okay. We understand kids get hot and they get uncomfortable, but it's for their safety. We never know when that one time is that boat may sink, or somebody else may collide with that boat, causing people to be ejected. So we want those 12 and under kids, we want them safe, because that's the only thing that may keep them afloat.
What does it mean? If they're tied out in the middle of the lake, tied to something that might be in the middle of the lake, is that legal for a child to have that jacket on or off?
Anytime the boat is anchored, moored, or aground, they can remove that PFD. Just keep in mind your surroundings. If you're in a really congested area, still may be a good idea to go ahead and keep that on.
Common sense. Use good common sense. All right, Matt, as an accident investigator, what does that mean? It sounds like we would understand right off. It means you go do accidents, but I bet it's got a lot more than that to it.
It does. You know, we have myself and 2 other investigators across the state, and our primary job is to assist the local wildlife officers when they have serious injury or fatality boat accidents or something that's high profile, something they may need a little help with. Now, keep in mind, our officers in the field are trained to our standards, so they can do it without us. We're just an extra hand to come in there because they have many other duties besides just boating enforcement that they can't just drop at any time. So we'll try to pitch in and help. Sometimes it's really small stuff. Sometimes we do a little bit more with the incident to assist those officers. But that's our primary job, is to fill in where necessary. We travel all over the state. We're on an on-call basis, so as the officers need us, they give us a call.
Do you go to school for accident to do your investigations? Is that a part of training that's different than our wildlife officers who train to keep their enforcement?
You know, we give all our wildlife officers some initial boating accident training, and then they have the ability, if they want to go to additional training classes on these investigations. But we have sprinkled out across the state probably 15 or 20 guys who've been through some advanced reconstruction type schools. So it's not just myself and our 2 other investigators. We've got able hands sprinkled all over the state. So our hope is within an hour or 2 of any incident occurring, we can have one of those guys or girls on the scene, and they can make good direction to keep that investigation going the right way.
Do you only, when you say accident, do you only do mishaps where somebody maybe has drowned or passed away, or does it involve property damage too?
We do property damage incidents. Coast Guard requires us to report anything over $2,000 property damage, but that doesn't preclude us from investigating any incident that occurs on the waterway. So our guys are called to a lot of different things, and sometimes those incidents they're called to, they determine that they're actually not actually boating accidents. So we have to, as we say, investigate to know if we need to investigate something.
You know, a question that, to me, I get a lot of press calls from, sometimes it's where people have just jumped off a cliff, hit their head, drowned, whatever. Sometimes they don't understand the difference. When we come in action, we have to, it's a boat. We'll help folks in incidents like that. We always do. You have many times with what we'll show them in a few minutes, the technology. But when you say a boat accident, that's when TWRA comes into play. But that boat accident can be what to what? Can it just be somebody holding on to a boat and letting go?
Yeah, it can be. It can be a person who departed a vessel voluntarily. It can additionally be people that fall inside a boat, be ejected out of a boat, or a boat capsize, or all the way up to 2 vessel collisions.
It's not always, it's not always though what you're thinking, the 2 vessel collisions. I know we had a terrible one on Percy Priest at night a few years ago, and that's what I think a lot of people would consider. But we also had a relatively young guy drowned the other day on one of our Middle Tennessee lakes. He was swimming, jumped up on the boat and let go of the boat and fell in. Boating accident. Certainly
is. And, you know, it's just going to depend on the facts of the case. We depend on our officers to get there, interview people, and try to determine if it is going to be a recreational boating accident or if it's just going to be a swimming incident. Irregardless, we're going to be there to assist, but we don't have to report certain things that are out there. Just swimming incidents, our officers are generally going to turn those over to the police or sheriff's departments.
Okay, you get tremendous help from the county rescue department squads, the various names they have across the state.
Absolutely. You know, they pitch in there and help. Same way with us, we pitch in there and help when we're working together at these scenes. It's really a group effort, and we couldn't do it without them.
Now, the technology is great, and you know we got some video that we can show. You may be showing it now behind me, I don't know, but it goes anywhere from this cool technology that Matt's going to explain here in a minute to 2 or 3 dogs that sniff the water. What's that all about?
Sure. You know, we start out when we're missing evidence, and whether that's people or whether that's boats or other associated equipment, we want to find that and recover it just like you would any crime scene. But the challenges with our scenes is they're liquid and things sink and float away. So we need to find that. We do that through a number of different ways. We do it with sonar on our boats. Some of the rescue departments have those as well that they assist us with. But additionally, we have an underwater remote operated vehicle.
We're letting some of that run behind us now.
Yes,
yep.
And that is a useful tool for us because it utilizes military grade sonar, and we are able to cover a lot of ground really quickly. And the way I explain it, it's the equivalent of shining a flashlight in a dark room. You can see everything that's on the lake bottom, and it's helped us many times recover people quicker, recover evidence such as boats or other associated equipment a lot quicker than we would have been doing it in the old traditional methods with divers or drag hooks and things like that.
Okay. And cadaver dogs. Just mention them briefly. They come out and help and have helped.
They have,
Several
yes.
times.
Some of the rescue squads will bring those out, and what they do, they're trained to smell for those humans that are there. So sometimes they will make positive hits and give us a good location of where to concentrate our search efforts with this other technology.
Okay, and the technology can bring it on. I want you to go ahead while Jason's running this stuff and explain what this Rove is. What does that mean?
Well, it's like I said, it's a remote operated vehicle. We
Right.
operate from the surface through a computer, and the neat thing is it's tethered to the boat. Not only will we utilize the sonar, and that's usually what we do, but it has a camera on board. So once we locate what we're looking for, we can actually take pictures, take video all the way around it. It's even got a manipulator arm on it, so we can pick things up if we need to,
Yeah.
or recover evidence down there. But we use this in pair with not only our law enforcement dive team, but other dive teams as well, whether it's the rescue squad or whatever agency that may request this piece of equipment. We'll try to help them with whatever need they have underwater.
Okay, how did Tennessee have one of them across the state, or do we have?
TWRA, we received this one on a port security grant, and we've used it for quite a few port security call-outs, but it's been worth its weight in gold,
Oh, absolutely.
really, for just reaching out between other departments that needed to look for underwater evidence, but also to reduce our on-scene time for our guys. We can find and recover evidence a
That
lot
sure
quicker.
helps the family stand on the banks. I've seen you do that several times now and bring some quicker relief to them. Is there a time of year, Matt, more accidents occur than other? The natural thought's going to be summertime, but is that true?
You know, it is. We see an increase in recreational boating accidents in the summer, but I can't always predict the times that it's going to happen. Sometimes we will have a rainy Tuesday where we will have two in different places across the state. You know, I can't explain it, but I can generally tell you, looking at all these accident reports, they can be tracked back to operator error for whatever that
Right.
is. And most of it, we totally understand, is unintentional. People go to the lake and never think anything's going to happen. So they kind of let their guard down, and occasionally they will forget a few of those common principles of boating safety, and sometimes those will get them hurt.
Yeah, and gosh, just for a few bucks to wear that life jacket and get used to wearing that life jacket all the time, it'd be like putting that seatbelt on. If you're a constant seatbelt, you won't feel comfortable without it. And it's a message that we've been talking about for years, and it's one where people roll their eyes sometimes. But I'm telling you, I'm here to tell you, watching Matt and other officers through all these years, if you wear that jacket, your chance of coming home is just many times greater than without wearing that thing.
Yeah, you know, most of these people would be relatively minorly injured.
Right.
Small injuries, but they succumb to those injuries because they're thrown into the water. They're not prepared to swim.
Do you feel like you're seeing more people wearing jackets? I know that's not an empirical. We're not studying it with surveys. I don't guess.
You know, there's some work in that department through our education department, but I think people are. And the reason they are is life jackets are smaller, they're more comfortable nowadays, and they're a lot more readily available. And whether or not kids think it or not, it's actually pretty cool to wear one because you know you're coming home at the end of the day.
Yeah, oh yeah, and make you feel better. And I know, Jason, you've already got Tucker. What, 4 years old, 3 years old?
4 years old. He's got one.
And what did you tell me the other day that?
He's going to wear it whether he wants to or not. I'm going to have it on him.
Yeah,
every time
just
we're
get
out
them
there.
used to it when they start from the beginning. And the main thing on a life jacket for you to look for, we want to make them fit. But the Coast Guard authorization on the back of them, is that where you know you're in good shape if you have one of those?
Yeah, you know, it wants to, just like you said, it needs to fit its intended wear because some small kids could slide out of an adult
Absolutely.
life jacket. So make sure it's in good working condition. If it's an inflatable, check to make sure that it's that all of the mechanisms are going to be working properly. They usually have a green indicator on them or a red if it's not ready. Check all that out and be familiar with the operation before you ever go to the lake.
Or do you think more people are wearing the inflatables now? It's what we wear all the time, but are other folks doing it?
I don't see it so much in the recreational hot of summertime boating, but in the spring and in fall and winter, I definitely see way more of our fishermen wearing those.
Okay, that's a good sign. I know the agency worked for a few years. It tried to target everybody, but there was for the Wear It campaign for a year or so, really wanted to go after the fishermen because the numbers were telling them they needed to wear more. And I think there's been some turnaround in that a little bit.
I hope so, and I hope it's just peer pressure.
Yes, sir.
The other guys say, hey, and it doesn't take anything to wear that life jacket. Throw it on. I want to keep fishing with you.
We have a video out there that Jason, I've talked about a time or two, that Jason shot of a couple of our guys. The boat turned over on them, and you can go watch it still out on our site.
Matt starred in that one, too.
Matt was in that one. That's right. Sorry, Matt. You were in there. But it just shows that it can happen to anybody. If two guys that do it every day, all the time, can go in the water, it can happen to anybody.
I was so proud of those guys for telling that story, and I think Jason will echo this. It was tremendously challenging for them to tell that story because I didn't know they hadn't told that before they actually were filmed telling it, and it was really tough on them because I think they realized it. Even that day they realized it, but when they were filming that segment, they realized that they could have been a statistic. So there's nothing more telling that when one of the own people that enforce those laws says, hey, I don't just enforce the law, I actually wear one because I know it will save your life, and that's very important.
Hit a log. If you haven't seen the video, I urge you go get it. They hit a log, propeller hit a log, flipped them over, had kill switch on, had jackets on, boat didn't run around in circles, and they were okay.
They were lucky gentlemen, and I was glad to see.
But they're using that safety, so
they did everything right.
All right, let's talk a little bit. Unless you want to add some more on the safety stuff, I want to talk a little bit.
Can we hit on life jackets one more time? Just kind of overview of what each jacket, or kids under a certain age can't wear the inflatables.
Sure. Yeah, what you want to look at the life jacket that you buy, and it's going to tell you what it's designed for. Okay, there are different classes of life jackets. Some of them are new, some of them are old, but make sure that it fits you. Put it on, make sure it's what it's supposed to be. There are all kind of neat children's life jackets. I've got 3 daughters, and they're just like your Tucker. They know if they're even near the boat, they're getting in a life jacket, and they don't question me anymore, and because they understand why. But make sure that is the right type of life jacket. There are many types of preservers that are not life jackets, such as throwable devices and things like that. Make sure that a lot of people will present to our officers. They say, oh, yeah, we've got a few throw cushions on here. We're good. Well, do you have any wearable life jackets? Oh, well, I thought these were okay. You must have a wearable life jacket for every person on board. And that's even true for canoes and kayaks as well as our paddle boards, too.
All right, I was going there. Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Good. More?
And have that throwable. That is required, at least one. Right?
Yeah, boats 16 foot and over are required to have that, but it's a great idea for any size boat. I think the smaller boats are maybe more susceptible in certain kind of weather or wake to turn over, so I think it's a great idea to have it on all boats. It doesn't have to be written
down. You can use your common sense, right? And you don't, if you're in a state where you're not required to wear helmets on your head to drive a motorcycle, you ought to anyway.
Sure.
And that's just being safe here on our water too, Matt, because I know what you guys see and how many people will come home safe, and that's the important thing. Because being on the water is cool. It's all kinds of different waters. Are you seeing any increase in that, by the way, with all this boom and these paddle sports, canoes and kayaks, and are more people doing whitewater stuff or semi-whitewater?
They are. People are finding new ways to get out to the lake. A lot of people don't like the crowded scene that our recreational reservoirs have. Now, some people seek that out, but a lot of people like a quieter, more introduction to boating, and they do that through canoes and kayaks, even paddle boards in quiet locations. But we are seeing a tremendous increase. They're a lot more available. They're easier to get. They're fun for a lot of people. A lot of people don't want to make a big boat payment every month for the next 200 months. They want to buy a boat and go out and enjoy it, and that's what they do in some of these canoes and kayaks.
And you can catch just as many fish in that little boat as you can in them big boats.
It drives the bass fishermen crazy in those $100,000 boats.
Well, wait, I caught more fish in a kayak than you did the other day, right? Oh, wait, maybe not.
I don't know. I don't remember that. I thought we already had that discussion, too. All right. All right, Matt, let's talk a little bit more on just the rules and regs, these small boats versus these big boats. Tell us about those paddle boards that people stand on. Can you go out there without life jackets?
Well, if you're right next to the shore or in a swimming area, they may be considered a water toy. But what we're looking at, if you're going from point A to point B, if you're out in the navigational traffic, or if you're using that to go from point A to point B, you're going to need to have a life jacket on. It would be considered a vessel.
Yeah.
You don't have to have it on. but you do have to have it on board that. And so we see a lot of people with them strapped down to the front of those paddle boards. They don't get in your way, but they are awfully handy if you were to need one.
Them and kayaks. Kayaks, same way, right? You got to, all right. What about lights? I think that's confusing to a lot of folks. You can go out there and play with these things and go across big old lake and don't worry about the lights.
Sure. Yeah, those are the lighting requirements are a little different for recreational boats than they are for those. You're required to have a light and be able to display that on some of these smaller boats. So a lot of people, we're seeing those out there at night, especially around some of these bigger river festivals. They're paddling around, and they do need a light, and it needs to be able to be readily displayed to prevent a collision. So a lot of people don't even know that you're supposed to have one, and they may or may not have one. So we're doing a lot of education right now.
Okay. I hope that's not putting you on the spot, but can you wear a headset and have a light up front? Do you have to have?
We have seen that.
Yeah?
We really have. But we've also seen people try to put lights on PWCs, which they're statutorily prohibited from being operated from sunset to sunrise.
Okay.
So just because you can tape lights on it doesn't mean it's going to be legal. So please check those regulations.
Where do they find those regulations?
Plenty of them on our website, if not all of them. There's a Reader's Digest version there. You can call our boating and law enforcement division. They'll mail you out a boating guide that gives you all of our regulations in there. So it's free for the taking. We just want people to get it.
All right, Mr. Pro Angler, what website is he talking about?
That's tnwildlife.org.
And by the way, there's been a lot of good video in here, and I find myself sometimes forgetting that we're doing video and audio. And if you want to see some of the video that you haven't seen yet, if you're listening to us on Tennessee Wildcast, TN Wildcast, go to
you can go to our YouTube channel, or you can go to TWRA.tv and see a lot of this.
Okay, yeah,
a lot of the videos, and I was going to mention something else. I forgot what it was.
That's okay. It's all right. All right. What about canoes and kayaks? Any other differences in them? Any stipulations you have to have that you don't have to have on the motorboats, the bigger boats?
No, you are required to have that wearable life jacket. Children 12 and under would still be required to wear those on board there. That's really all you need on those. If they have some type of mechanical power, either sail or electric or gas or diesel or whatever it is, even if it's a small boat, even a small kayak with a small motor on it, they would be required to be registered.
All right. Do you see much traffic at night, Matt, when you're out there? I know the majority is daytime, but is there still a lot of night traffic? With July 4th bearing down on us and a bunch of events scheduled for nighttime, is it common, though, to see boats running the rivers or the lakes?
It is, especially around your metropolitan areas. There's a lot of ambient lighting, and there's a lot more boats and a lot more call for people that just want to get out when it's a little more cool, a little more comfortable, and they will get out on the lake, just enjoy the evening. They don't do as much running at night, but there's plenty of boats out there when you work it.
Okay, in Tennessee, about 300,000 registered boats, give or take?
Yes.
And that doesn't count canoes and kayaks, does it?
It doesn't. We're not registering those, so we don't really know how many are out there, but I can tell you from the enforcement side, they are a very common sight.
So you could probably take that 200,000 or 300,000 number and increase it by another, a lot.
Hard to guess, but it's certainly somebody that we're going to cater our education and our enforcement needs to.
Okay, and one thing that gets a lot of canoers out there, they don't understand it, although it's been around as long as I can remember being at the agency, that if they do put a trolling motor on any of those things, then it does become considered a bigger boat.
It's required to be registered then at that point. So, that's just something to think about. It's a small thing, but it would be something that we would approach them. A lot of times people are unaware, so we can do some educative enforcement there and say, hey, get this fixed before you come back out. It'll just depend on the situation.
And we want to remind everyone, if you're born after January 1st, 1989,
yes, sir,
you have to take a test. You got to get your children in there, take it with them. You don't have to go to a course, but there's plenty of good ones to take. Again, I would advise you go find somebody like a Matt and take an actual course, and those can be found on our website. Or you can just go take the test, but go take a course.
It's interesting. Some of the parents that set in through with the children, they leave out of there. Some of them don't say anything, but a lot of them say, wow, I really learned a lot. I didn't know about a lot of those things. And some of them will say, I didn't know what those red and green markers were out there. I just stayed real close to them. But now I know. I had no idea. So I'm like you. I would encourage them to fall in there with their kids and take that course, they're going to pick up something.
All right. You don't see this summer as being out of the ordinary accident-wise, though, so far.
Not so
like
far.
normal.
Keeping our fingers crossed.
We
though.
want it to be good. We want everybody to be safe. And we want everybody to have a great 4th of July and come home safely. What else?
You can check this show out at tnwildlife.org and see all the past shows and future shows right there. And thanks, Matt, for being with us today. This is a good message that everybody needs to learn.
Thanks for having me.
I'm going to put on my jackets and go school this man on how to trophy pocket. That's what I'm going to do. And wear my jacket while I do it. Betsy Woods. I know Betsy wants us wearing them jackets. She does education. Matt, thanks for your time.
Thank you, Brett.
And everything you do. You've brought a lot of technology and smarts and hard work. And this is a former Southeastern Officer of the Year right here. And there's reason for that. We'll be back next week. All right.
Thank y'all.